So Lamar Jackson is catching a lot of slander right now, as he usually is. Didn't have a great season statistically. Didn't close out the season well before he got hurt. So the last thing people remember is him playing poorly. So recency bias isn't helping him out. But I believe that Lamar is still solidly a top 10 quarterback and actually was playing some of the best football of his career earlier in this season when he had multiple comeback wins against good teams, which people said he couldn't do. Was performing very well on throws outside the numbers, which people said he didn't have the arm strength for. Overall, I'm not concerned about him going forward. I'm not concerned. If I was the Ravens, I would not be concerned about paying him at all. And I still think that he is absolutely the most valuable piece of this offense. Absolutely can vault them into playoff and Super Bowl contention, and absolutely can do a lot of the things that people say he can't do. All right, what is the thing you hear all the time about Lamar Jackson? Oh, he's just an athlete. He's just a runner. He doesn't have elite arm talent. He's not very accurate. He's a very raw passer. He can't read the field well. Well, it's hard for me to agree with that when plays like this exist, all right? The Chiefs are bringing 6. The Ravens are blocking 5. So there's going to be pressure. There's going to be a free man, and you've got to make a decision quickly. How many reads can Lamar Jackson make in that time? All right, first place he looks at the top of the screen towards Watkins. And he reads Nick Bolton blitzing. Now, you don't want to throw directly into the blitz because if Nick Bolton gets his hands up, bats us in the air, bad things can happen. You want to throw behind the blitz. All right. So if he's coming down, he's vacating this space, you got Andrews going into that space. So, second read, right to Andrews. But Andrews is stumbling around. He's not ready to make this catch. Okay, now you're in trouble because you're going to have to make a third read under pressure. And yes, there it is, Duvernay. But he's stumbling too coming out of here. And when he gets up, you got these safety, Tyrann Mathieu, ready to jump this. All right, so Lamar starts to take off. And you see what that does to these two DBs right here. They're ready to go up and meet him. But Lamar is not just a scrambler. He doesn't just scramble whenever things go bad. And already he's done enough here, made his 3 reads, and the wide receivers kept tripping. All right, but he doesn't give up on the play from the pocket. He keeps his eyes down the field, and when these two are so concerned about his running threat, they leave Marquise Brown wide open. All right, but this is still a difficult throw. He's got to jump in the air over the offensive line, throw this sidearm 25 yards to hit him. And you can see the velocity that the ball leaves his hands with. He's got really high-level arm talent. I see Lamar compared a lot to mobile quarterbacks who are not as good as him. Jalen Hurts or his own backup, Tyler Huntley, or Malik Willis coming out of the draft. Look, with those quarterbacks, if they get to their second read here and Andrews is stumbling, it's over for them. Their journey is done. They're probably taking a sack. Maybe they get out of here and pick up a few yards. But Lamar is the only guy who is doing stuff like this. All right, to do the jump pass sidearm and make his fourth read and hit this. It may look like, oh, it's just a wide open touchdown. It's not. You saw the AFC Championship game with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes trading blows. And those are just 2 freak mutant quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson is a freak mutant quarterback, and he is someone that you want on your side because he is a floor raiser to an insane degree. Now, there's a lot that goes into football games besides quarterback play, but I think it's pretty telling that this team went 1-5 with Huntley, and before Jackson got hurt in Week 14, they were 8-4, solidly in the playoffs. All right, he means everything to this Ravens team. Here's another like Mahomes, Rodgers caliber throw from Lamar Jackson here. He's going to roll out, and about step 5, you're going to make your first read, which is the flat. It's covered. Then he's going to make his second read at about step 7, and it is Marquise Brown in the seam there. And the Chiefs are running cover 6, it looks like. Quarter, half. All right, and shout out Tyrann Mathieu because he's kind of leaving his zone, I think, to make a play on this football. Right, and he does a really nice job knowing what Lamar wants to do and just booking it to Brown. But this is a very tight window throw from Lamar Jackson here. All right, you've got Nick Bolton in the way. You've got this dude with his arms up. You kind of got this guy, but he's probably not going to make a play on it. All right, so the throwing window here is like between these two and then between these two safeties closing in fast. And again, I'm talking about the arm strength. To get it through here without anyone making a play on it, you need a cannon. All right, you need a hose. And Lamar Jackson has that kind of arm strength. All right, this angle kind of shows it as well. Right? Here's where he makes the decision to throw it. You can't throw a lollipop right here and loft it over these because these two safeties are going to pick it off. You need to throw a bullet. And if you're going to throw a bullet and your passing lane is between these two, and between these two, you're going to have pinpoint accuracy. And watch it right out of the hands of Bolton, right out of the hands of Tyrann Mathieu, and right into the hands of Marquise Brown, who can't quite make the catch because he got popped. But this type of accuracy and arm strength is incredibly impressive. Once again, here's an example of him keeping his wits about him and making a good pass when things break down. 66, loses right off the bat here as soon as Lamar turns around after this play action. The clock is really up, and he's got to make a decision. He would like to throw it to Mark Andrews, but the leverage is kind of making that hard to do. So, and he takes off. He steps up in the pocket, all right? And that's a big thing, not to roll out and make things difficult, but to step up and not commit to scrambling, but keeping his eyes up and finding Watkins, number 14, right here, crossing the middle of the field, making a difficult throw in between two linebackers, hitting him perfectly in stride and making this a big gain, and also sidearming that around these two. Like, that's just really high-level creation when things break down. This is a pick six, all right? Doesn't show up well in the box score. Probably got him trending and laughed on Twitter, but believe it or not, I think that this is a good play and an example of high-level field reading from Lamar Jackson. Because what is this? Man coverage, manned up, manned up, manned up, manned up. You got two safety linebacker types mugging up the A-gap, but this guy's going to go out and defend Mark Andrews. Daniel Sorensen is going to be the rat with the shallow zone, and then you got the single high safety covering everything else. All right? This guy, Mathieu, is the only guy playing off coverage, and Sammy Watkins is running a hitch. So that's probably going to be your best matchup, and you know that's going to be open. All right. Well, what Lamar doesn't know is what these two guys are going to do. Are they going to come? Are they going to drop back in coverage? Sorensen ends up being the rat, and he has this shallow zone. He can jump this route and take this away. So what does Lamar Jackson do? Watch his head. He glances quickly to the left. He looks off that safety. And what does Daniel Sorensen do? He has to respect that and take a step that way. That opens up Watkins, but sadly, Watkins also falls down, as his wide receivers were doing all night, and he can't recover and make the catch, so this pass goes directly to Tyrann Mathieu. But this was a good read, and this was manipulating the safety, and this was getting the ball to the right spot. But sadly, it takes two to tango, and you need your wide receiver to maintain the balance, otherwise you're going to throw a bad play. But this is not on Lamar, all right? The point of this play is to watch him look off that safety and make the right throw. And I already know what the comment section is going to look like. Theo, you're cherry picking. He had some bad plays in this game. Let's show those, and I will. But it's not cherry picking to show Lamar's good plays, because most of Lamar's plays are good plays. When you say that he's a below average passer, or you say he can't read the field, or you say, he's a bad decision maker, whatever, those are cherry picking the bad plays. All right, because I'm telling you, these examples of him making 4 reads against the blitz are pretty normal. Or looking off linebackers or safeties. Pretty normal stuff for Lamar Jackson. These questions should have largely been answered in 2019 when he led the league in passing touchdowns and was one of the most efficient passers ever. And he was doing it with a wide receiving core that was bad. Marquise Brown was very bad at this point. And then the other guys are like, Willie Snead and Seth Roberts here. I mean, Mark Andrews was the best guy there, and he wasn't even like a really top-tier tight end at that point like he is now. Here's a list of the top 15 games by quarterback rating, as long as ESPN has been tracking the stat. Notice how 4 of these games are from Lamar Jackson. This is the guy who's a below-average passer. This is the dude who's just a running threat. Since Lamar Jackson was drafted in 2018, the Ravens are the 3rd most efficient offense in football, behind just the Chiefs and Packers. And they have a fraction of the offensive talent that the Chiefs and Packers have, and in my opinion, a fraction of the talent at play caller as well. This is more of a that boy nice type of video than a statistical breakdown, but I think those do a good job showing the type of success that he has had overall since taking over the Ravens in 2018. But Lamar does have some problems. Number 1, Greg Roman. Number 2, he tends to play some hero ball sometimes. And number 3 is his lack of playoff success. All right, remember this highlight from earlier? 66 loses right away. Lamar steps up in the pocket, throws sidearm, and hits 14 for a big gain. Well, look at the play call here. I do not understand why these two are lined up right next to each other in bunch and then decide to run the exact same route right behind each other. That, to me, doesn't seem like the ideal use of the field. That seems like a route concept that can be defended pretty easily by one person. And that seems like a pretty difficult way to generate offense, and now you're relying on Lamar having to make a great play for anything to happen. These plays are not necessarily rare in the Ravens' offense. Let's look at Greg Roman's strategy against the Dolphins. And also, by the way, this doesn't have anything to do with Greg Roman. This is Lamar Jackson wanting Mark Andrews in the middle of the field up the seam. There's a linebacker in the throwing lane. So then he looks at the flat, moves the linebacker out of the throwing lane, snaps back to Andrews, and makes the throw. Just saying, he does stuff like this all the time. It did not take me very long to find this. It's the first quarter. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be some, scheme mastermind, all right? I couldn't coach in the NFL. I couldn't call plays. But this is weird to me. Why are four guys just in the middle of the field all in a line right now? Let's draw this out. You got mesh with these two, and I feel like usually you'd run mesh with the guy in the slot, but that's just me. But they're gonna run mesh, and they're gonna use the farthest outside guy, and then they're gonna have Andrews on a dig, which I get it. Okay, let's try to flood the middle of the field. This is a play I understand, but usually with a play like that, you'd have an out route going, or you'd have Hollywood Brown, getting upfield quickly and trying to spread out the defense or something. But he goes to the middle of the field too. Everyone goes to the middle of the field, and against a Dolphins look like this, you got to know that some of these defensive tackles or linebackers or someone is going to fake blitzing and then drop back into coverage. So it feels like the middle of the field shouldn't be where you're attacking here anyway. It feels like against this look, I don't know, maybe an out route, maybe a hitch. If you're going to run mesh, maybe run it with these two so it's a little bit quicker and you don't need everyone to wait around for this guy to get all the way to the middle of the field. Who is open when he hits the top of the drop? This guy's going to pick it off. Don't throw it here. This guy's covered. And then everyone else is just in the middle of the field. Seems like very easy to defend to me. I don't know. This is, I'm not kidding, the very next passing play. All right, let's take a look at the top of Lamar's drop. Do you notice a problem? These two are lined up right next to each other, once again, running the same route and getting taken away by just one defender. Meanwhile, you've got Lamar's backup left tackle getting beat by Andrew Van Ginkel. So he has to slide and throw it sidearm while getting hit, even to give this play a chance. His number one wide receiver, although Hollywood has gotten better, is still a 5'9" speedy dude with inconsistent hands. I just don't think he has much of a chance with some of the play design sometimes. Plays that had no chance basically continued all night. Here's another one. The Dolphins mugging up the fronts, bringing 5 of them, dropping 2 back into coverage. You don't know who's coming. The blockers certainly don't know who's coming as they let Javon Holland right through to be a free rusher. Lamar does a nice job to avoid him, but there is no quick, easy throw here. All right, no hot route. Just a bunch of guys running long developing routes deep over the middle of the field, and Lamar has to make it work with that. And this is, in my opinion, Lamar's biggest flaw as a passer. Although this play is not a great example of it, maybe, but he will try to pick up a first no matter what. He won't throw away the play. He won't make the safe throw. I mean, he is aggressive, man. And it's 3rd down and long here, and this is probably not going to result in a touchdown, but Lamar is going to gun it down the field anyway. And even if this was picked, and it very well could have been, that's probably a pretty good punt, so it's not the worst thing in the world even if this did get picked. And it's probably a good decision to give Hollywood a chance here maybe. But you'll find, and I'll show you, that a lot of Lamar picks happen on 3rd down and long, and he's just trying to make a play that maybe isn't there. Going back to the Chiefs game, he's going to force this ball to Hollywood, and I don't really think this is a route that's meant to be thrown to. I think this is just a clear out to get some guys out of there so he can hit one of these two. And again, the spacing here maybe could be a little bit better, but I digress. This is not really Greg Roman's fault. This one is legitimately on Lamar. But, I see it's 3rd down 13 here. Hollywood's on a linebacker. You think maybe you can beat him. throw it up the middle, gun it, throw it perfectly. Maybe you can get it and be the hero. Chiefs are once again running that cover 6 that I highlighted earlier. It looks like quarter, half. And once again, Tyrann Mathieu recognizes exactly what Lamar wants to do before he does it, guns it to Hollywood, and Tyrann Mathieu, great safety, makes the pick here. But this was never open. This was never really an option. And plays like this look bad. All right, when you throw it into triple coverage and try to do too much, it looks bad and it looks like you don't know what you're doing. Lamar does know what he's doing on quick developing routes. He can read the field. He can look off safeties. He can look off linebackers. He can make every throw from every arm angle. He can do all that, and he's an above-average passer. But plays like this happen a little bit more frequently than you'd like to see. Reads like this happen a little bit more frequently than you'd like to see, and it's not the worst thing in the world, all right? This aggressiveness also has led to a lot of touchdowns over the years, but it looks bad when it goes wrong, and it really looks bad on a box score, making a pick in the, not quite the red zone here. And as far as the issues in the playoffs go, I think that's more of a Roman thing, and Greg Roman can't win in the playoffs than a Lamar Jackson thing, because you're playing the top flight teams in the league, right, in the playoffs, and if you don't have your passing concepts up to snuff, it's really tough to win. And I like what Greg Roman and the Ravens offense does in the running game. I think it's creative and interesting, but again, the passing game, not quite where it needs to be in my opinion. And you can see how these playoff meltdowns start to happen, right? You've got a quarterback who's hyper talented and really wants to push the ball down the field and be aggressive, and he's amped up trying to prove himself in these playoff games against the greatest teams, and the passing concepts aren't really where they need to be, and it's just a messy, hard to operate offense. Like, you see how the potential for embarrassing picks and bad plays are there. I don't think that's so much a Lamar problem, because he's as talented as anyone is, all right? Whether that be reading the field, whether that be accuracy, whether that be arm talent, I think he does a good job at all of those things. Not to mention, and this video has not even mentioned yet, he is the greatest running threat the league has right now. He is arguably the hardest to tackle. The fact that he's a quarterback and that you have to account for that in an offense and the numbers in the running game makes it all the more valuable, because that's usually not a thing defenses are prepared for. So, as long as he has that ability, even if he wasn't a great passer, even if he wasn't even good at it, that would still be an intensely valuable skill to have, I think. And you could still build an offense around that, even if he was like more of a Jalen Hurts level passer. So as long as that athleticism is still there, he's going to be a top tier quarterback. There's probably 5 guys I might have ahead of him. Rodgers and Mahomes, Herbert, I think, and Allen are both really high quality, and then probably Tom Brady still. But after those guys, I think you put in Lamar and Kyler, and then like Stafford, Russell Wilson. I think that might be the next tier. And then you've got like Burrow and Dak, I think, in the tier after that. That's probably how I would rank all these quarterbacks maybe. But overall, Lamar, whatever he wants to be paid, I would pay him. I don't think the Ravens look good at all without Lamar. I think that if he were to hit free agency, I mean, oh my God, some team, that's a magic ticket right there, because that's how talented he is. So he's a top flight quarterback. He deserves a huge payday. And I think like a lot of the narratives against him are lazy and not taking everything into context. Also, one more thing. Watching highlights will never be the same as watching film. But if you don't believe me on this, and you think there's things Lamar Jackson can't do, watch his 2021 highlights and watch how many of those highlights come hanging in the pocket under tough pressure and making a difficult throw down the field. There's a lot of examples for this year, and they're all compiled in these highlight tapes. And if you do believe me on this, I would still advise you to watch Lamar Jackson highlights, because they're awesome, and he has the coolest highlight film of like any quarterback ever. And at the end of the day, if you can't appreciate that, I legitimately feel sorry for you, because Lamar Jackson freaking rocks. All right, that does it for this week. That does it for my video this week. At least I'll be back next week with another video on a topic I have not decided yet. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. And yeah, thanks for listening, and see you next time.